So I wanted to do this video because I think going forward it could be, a video that we come back to when at the end of the season, the Premier League season, when maybe Arsenal are not doing as good as we'd expect them to do, or their fans would expect them to do. I think this could be one of the videos where we could come back and look at it and be like, oh, we're onto something here. And I think the Arsenal Liverpool game, as early as it was in the season, I think it was a very big match in the sense that these are the two teams favorites for the league at the moment. Manchester City are still in the mix, but I still think Arsenal Liverpool at the moment, based on the players that they have, these two teams are the favorites to go on and win the league. And this match coming very early in the season, it was kind of a test. It was kind of a test for both teams to see who really had what it takes to go far in the season. And unfortunately for Arsenal, they didn't have their best 11, with Saka getting an injury and then Odegaard as well getting an injury. But I think with the inclusion of Eberechi Eze, with players like Madueke, even players like Ethan and Moneri on the bench, I think you could have looked at that starting lineup. I mean, first of all, let's have a look at the starting lineup. You know, Seeing Moreno, Zubamendi, and Declan Rice in that midfield, it did look a little bit pragmatic. And you could see that in the game. There were so many opportunities where Arsenal, had options on the opportunities with Madueke on the wing. He goes to the wing and there is no support. And you could argue Madueke is a shoot first player, but I do believe if there were more options on the edge of the box for him to pass to, he might maybe think twice because he comes up against Milos Kerkers, I think, 2, 3 times in the game, and you would think, one of those 2, 3 times he thinks, okay, Kerkers is a good defender. Maybe I try and pass the ball to someone else. But there's no one else for him to pass the ball to. You thinking of Yuri and Timber, he's a fullback. You'd be expecting him to overlap, and you're not seeing that. He's more, inverted, going into the midfield, in case of a counter attack. And you could see the game plan for that match was very reserved, very pragmatic from Arteta in the sense that they were more concerned about Liverpool hitting them on the counter attack as as compared to actually getting a goal and putting the ball in the back of the net. Because again, there were so many opportunities when they went forward, when they were on the counter attack, and Liverpool players tracked back. They tracked back a lot because obviously, a team is on the counter attack against them. So they track back a lot. And when the ball settles, when the dust settles, you see that there are no Arsenal players. You can see in so many clips. I'm going to include clips in this video, and you're going to see so many clips where Arsenal gets opportunities to create something. I'm not saying they should have scored from these opportunities, but what I'm trying to say is they could have created something. The Manchester City team that won the treble, just recently, I think they would have, probably recycled that possession better. They would have been able to create something. Maybe not score a goal, but they would have been able to create something. Push Liverpool as far back as you can because again, you are at your home. You're not going to get a lot of chances. So the little opportunities you get, you do have to take advantage of them. As risky as it may be, pushing players forward. I do understand the approach of not putting too many players forward in case of a counter attack, but you are going for the lead. This is not a Arsenal, or they're not a mid-table team. They're not a team fighting for top four. They're fighting for the league. And when you're fighting for the league, you have to be ready to take risk because if you don't take risk, you're not going to get any rewards. And you could see Liverpool. I mean, Liverpool as well had little chances, especially in the first half. I think the second half they totally dominated Arsenal, and Arsenal have survived based on their really good defense and defensive shape. But I think if Liverpool had the same intensity they had in the second half in the first half, they probably win that game earlier than they probably could. They probably did. So when Liverpool do get the opportunity to go on the counter attack, there are a lot more Liverpool players on support. There are a lot more Liverpool players running forward, trying to get themselves into the box, trying to do something, trying to create an opportunity, and it's the exact opposite with Arsenal when they do get a chance on the counter attack. I mean, Arsenal had like 7 touches in the opposition box in the first half, probably more than that. But from what I count, what I remember counting, I've rewatched the whole match, and from what I remember counting, they had like 7 touches in the opposition box in the first half, and you know, by the second half, Liverpool almost doubled that. They had um, a lot more touches in the opposition box in the second half for Liverpool. So you could see one team came to try and win the game, and the other team came in and they were a little bit less, risk averse. Um, they didn't take a lot of risk. I think Arsenal really should have. I think Timber. There are so many opportunities. I mean, for let's just go. I'm gonna go through the points, the opportunities, the chances. I think a team like a Barcelona, a team like a Manchester City, prime Manchester City, not current Manchester City, a team like a Manchester City would take advantage of. Again, keep in mind, I'm not saying these chances should have led to goals, but what I'm trying to say is that these chances could have been taken better with a team that had the mentality of wanting to win the games. And what I mean by that is Arteta is the manager. If Arteta has the mentality of wanting to win this game, his players have the mentality of wanting to win this game. If he goes into the game again, I'm not in the dressing room to know what Arteta is telling the players, but if the manager has the mentality of we can win this game if we play well, the players, advertently have the same um mentality of okay, we actually have the quality to win this game if we actually play well and make the right decisions. We have the quality to win this game. But you could see the players didn't really believe they could win the game because so many mistakes. So I'm going to talk about the first one. I noticed Timber gets a good opportunity to pass to Martinelli and then misplaces the pass, makes a bad decision with the pass. And you're like, why are you passing to Gyökeres in this situation? There's, Martinelli is more in an open space. So it kind of plays in into the fact that is he, thinking, oh, maybe I'm not gonna get that pass to Martinelli. Let me just make the simple pass to Gyökeres, and he overhits the pass. Even if you overhit the pass with Martinelli, it's still Martinelli. He's going to be able to try and catch the ball. He's going to be quick enough to try and get to that ball. And another thing I noticed is they didn't utilize the fact that Liverpool were playing Szoboszlai at right back. I think there was one opportunity Martinelli got the ball, one on one with Szoboszlai, and he passes the ball back. And that's what I'm trying to say. This is what I'm saying with the mentality of the team. If the players believe they can win the game, I believe Martinelli takes on, Szoboszlai. He's a player that can take on other players. I think in the Leeds game he did that. I was in the Leeds game. Did he play the Leeds game? Trying to remember, I don't remember. But knowing Martinelli, he's not, obviously he's not the best winger out there, but I think he could have been able to take on Szoboszlai, as much as Madueke was taking on characters. I mean, Madueke was actually coming up against a natural left back, but he was doing his best to take on, take his man on. So to see Martinelli not doing that, it could be he's not good enough to, have the mindsets to do that. But definitely I think he could have Arsenal in general could have taken advantage of the fact that Liverpool were playing a center midfielder at right back, and he's not going to have the defensive, quality to consistently stop Martinelli. I think one, two, three times maybe he does it, but over like a five opportunity being created for Martinelli against Szoboszlai, I think Martinelli gets two out of those three. Let's just assume Szoboszlai is a good defensive player, and Martinelli is not the best winger in the world. Out of five opportunities, Martinelli gets one-on-one with Szoboszlai. I believe he should be able to take two out of those five. So they didn't really utilize that. And again, it does come back to the fact that maybe Arteta came into this match wanting to just try and get a corner. There were so many corners, intentional corners as well. I think there were so many opportunities where it shouldn't have been a corner, but they forced the corner because they were like, okay, we're good at corners. Let's try and get a corner. Let's try and get a goal, and we can defend because we know we can defend well and we can get corners. So I don't know if it was due to a lack of belief, as I said earlier, that the players didn't believe they could come into this game and win the game because again, so many opportunities. Moreno, with Timber open, makes a really bad pass. We've talked about Martinelli getting a one-on-one with Szoboszlai, and then there's no one supporting him as well. There were so many chances, both wingers, Martinelli and Madueke, got so many opportunities, got into the opposition box. There was no one else to pass back to, so they had to keep going into the opposition box and get a corner. And I think that's tactical, to be honest. I think Arteta probably said to both wingers, when you get the ball, go against your fullback. If you can't beat him, try and hit the ball off him, and we get a corner and we get a good chance to score. Because really, really looking at that, those situations, there were so many chances where Madueke could have held on to the ball, passed the ball back to someone, and they recycle possession around the edge of the 18-yard box for Liverpool and try and get a better opportunity. Because I think the first two chances Madueke gets against Kirkers, you can already see that, it's going to be a tough matchup for Madueke. He's going to have to, produce something special to beat Kirkers. So, as a team, you look at that and you're like, okay, let's provide him with more support. Let's bring the lineup. Let's bring Marino up. Let's bring Timber up and try and get something. And I've heard some Arsenal fans saying no, Odegaard wasn't in the game, because when Odegaard did come into the game, he um he created more support on the edge of the box, and I think they had one chance in the edge of the box where he misplaced the pass. And I think, yes, obviously Odegaard, Marino is not Odegaard. He's not going to be able to create that support on the edge of the box. But that's what Eze was brought in the team for, I believe. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not as if Eze hasn't played a single. Eze literally played 2 games ago, for Crystal Palace, and he played in the FA Cup. He has been playing games, so he's fit. So to not see Eze in this team, again, adds to my point of Arteta went into this game with the mindset of, I don't think my team is good enough to beat Arsenal, not to beat Liverpool. Let's try and hold on to the game. Let's try and get a lucky goal from a corner, and let's try and keep this game level. Maybe once we get a goal from a corner, Liverpool can open up and we can try and get a second goal. I don't think Arteta went into this game with the mindset of, I think my players can go pound for pound at Liverpool. I really don't think so, because from what I saw in the match, it really didn't look like that. Um, I think Arsenal's best chance was, I'm trying to remember. Raya kicks the ball over the top, gets the ball to Madueke. He goes up against Kerkers, and he gets into the box, and Kerkers does well. There is still no support. There is still no support. Keep in mind, this is a counterattack. He has launched the ball from his own half to find Madueke. Madueke is running. You'd expect Timber to be running right beside him. You'd expect Marino to be coming up. You'd expect, maybe Declan Rice to be coming up, and then leave maybe Zubamendi, Mascara, and Gabriel at the back. You'd expect these players to be coming up and providing support for Madueke, but Madueke gets the ball. There's no support. You can literally see he's not even expecting support. He doesn't even raise his head to look back. He's not expecting support. He gets into the box, goes up against Kerkers, and gets a corner. And you can see, as I said, I think that's an example of getting an intentional corner, because I'm trying to think of Salah. Salah gets a ball in that position, he is going to look back, because he's going to be expecting, a Florian Wirtz to be there. He's going to be expecting a McAllister to be there. He's going to be expecting, Frimpong or whoever is going to be playing at right back, Szoboszlai, to be there. So he's not going to get the ball and go head down straight into the box and try and get a corner. He's going to try and, pass the ball back to someone, get himself in a better position, and, do something. So it does add to my, thoughts of Arteta came into this game thinking his players are not good enough to beat Liverpool, and they're just gonna have to defend. And when you're going for the title, it kind of works. If you're going, not title, if you're going for a cup, in a cup competition, it kind of works, because you can do that, tire out the opposition and get a lucky goal and maybe get a penalty or something. You can do that. But when you're playing a 38 game season, you have to go for everything. I think Arsenal could have gotten a draw from this game. Honestly, not a 0-0 draw. I think Arsenal could have gotten a 1-1 draw from this game if they went for the game in the first half, because I think the first half, first 30 minutes, first 35 minutes were Arsenal's best opportunities to get a goal, because funny enough, they were actually on top of Liverpool for the first 30 minutes. And the passes were just backwards. They were not even trying to go for it. Because I'm trying to compare this, you know, Arsenal team to a City that has been winning titles. Do you think a Manchester City team, Rodri gets the ball and passes the ball back as often as Zubimendi does? I'm not trying to blame Zubimendi. He did his job perfectly. I think the two CDMs for both teams, Gravenberch and Zubimendi, did an absolutely brilliant job. But I'm trying to ask you, you know, just give me a moment of your mind. Do you think a prime Manchester City, everyone fit? Do you think Rodri gets the ball and passes the ball back as much as Zubimendi did? Because even Gravenberch didn't do that. I think there was an occasion where Gravenberch gets the ball from the back and drives. He doesn't even think of going back. He drives forward, gets the ball. And I think he does end up misplacing the pass, but that's positive. He tries to go forward. He's trying to push the game forward. But Zubimendi gets the ball. Once in a while he does pass the ball progressively forward, but most of the time he's trying to pass the ball back. He's trying to be pragmatic. And again, it's still I'm still thinking it's a mentality thing. The players don't think, or the players don't believe that you're good enough to beat a Liverpool side, or they don't think they have enough quality to beat a Liverpool side. Maybe because Saka and Odegaard are injured. But this is how you win titles. This is how you win titles. You win games like this without having your best players on the field. You try your best to win games like this without having your best players on the field. So I really do think Arsenal going forward, if this is how they're going to play up against teams, because if you go up against on Newcastle. I think even at Manchester City, I don't really want to talk about Manchester City because I think they have their own problems. But Liverpool, right at the moment, Liverpool are the, favorites to win the league again. If you're going to tell me that Arsenal are going to play better in the Emirates, I find that hard to believe. I really do. I don't think the fact that they were playing at Anfield played a massive difference. I really don't think so. People are going to say, it was at Liverpool's home. I think Anfield came to life in the second half. I think the first half was pretty tame from Anfield. I don't think the atmosphere really got to, I don't think it really boiled up to what it was in the second half. The second half, I would say, okay, Anfield kind of played a role in Liverpool getting that win. But the first half, it was there for Arsenal. I really do think it was there for Arsenal. If they pushed hard enough, I think it was there for Arsenal to try and get something in the game. But let me know what you guys think in the comment sections. Do you think Arsenal went there to win the game, or do you think that it was a balanced game? Because I've heard a lot from people saying it was, a boring game. It was a boring game because Arsenal didn't go for it. I think if Arsenal pushed as well as they, had the opportunities to, it would have been an interesting game. So do you agree with that? Do you agree with it being a boring game? Let me know what you think in the comment section. As usual, any feedback from you guys would be greatly appreciated.